that day is up. Okay. When I was growing up here in Selma, on Wednesday, everything in this area, you don't know it, but you're almost back where you started from. Everything in this area closed at noon on Wednesdays. Any place that received federal funding, like our health clinic or public library, which was this building on your right, and you're going to make a right, closed also at 12, but they had to have a colored day where we could come and not be harassed and utilize the facilities. Well, Wednesday was the colored day at the library. Red brick building, see the doors with the fourth section and the little window. That was movie theater, colored section. We had to go upstairs in the balcony. You know, the best seats in the house. I can't begin to tell you the things we used to throw down on their heads. See this building on the right? We're making a left. County Courthouse, Board of Registrars on the first floor. We have been marching to this building since the early 1930s. See this entrance on the back? Colored entrance. I was arrested there for the first time when I was 8 years old, along with my grandmother, for parading without a permit. We're going to go straight across and make a right. I told you, one big block. How about that? See the Rexall sign? You're right back where you started from. Listen, guys, when we stop, you're going to get ready to go across the bridge. But I don't think it's fair that you walk across the bridge without hearing about the first time I walked across the bridge. So I will briefly tell you a little bit about me, then line you up and watch you walk across that bridge. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's your turn. You're going to make a right and you should be able to pull right alongside the curtain. When I was growing up here in Selma, things were different. My grandmother, Sylvia Johnson, came to live with us when I was 3 years old. You see, my mom had died in the halls of a hospital here, the White Hospital. My mom needed a blood transfusion, and the black hospital didn't have her blood type. The blood had to be ordered from Birmingham, Alabama, and sent to Selma on the bus. My dad was to pick it up, to pick up the blood, and then rush it over to the hospital so my mom could get her much needed transfusion. By the time the blood got here, it was too late. My mom was gone and my baby brother in her tummy too. My grandmother came for the funeral and stayed to rear us along with my father. Grandmother had lived in Detroit for 30-some odd years and had what I now call that Mason-Dixon mentality, that the craziness only happens in the South. And we were the only people to be privileged with crazy white people. But grandmother lived in a section in Detroit that everybody around her looked like her. In small towns, you can live like that, but you have to interact every day with people who don't look like you. So we face discrimination every day. My grandmother only faced it when she left her area of love. Grandmother would talk to the women in the movement, in the projects, to tell them about her better life up north. They introduced her to a lady named Amelia Boynton. Mrs. Boynton, as I told you, and her husband Sam were our farm extension agents. And they formed the Dallas County Voters League. My grandmother started taking us to the meetings. Boring. We had to sit at the feet of those history makers while they strategized on what they call getting our freedom. I thought they were the dumbest old folks in the world. You see, my teachers had already told me that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. So they didn't know we had our freedom. One day we were on this street, Broad Street. It's a drugstore on the next corner from the Rexall drugstore called Carter's Drugstore. Carter's had a lunch counter. I wanted to sit at that lunch counter. Grandmother said I couldn't sit at that lunch counter because colored children were not allowed. I didn't stop wanting to sit at that counter. Every time I passed by there, I peep in that window or look over at that counter and see those white kids sitting there spinning around on those stools licking that ice cream cone. It looked like so much fun, and I wish it was me. But one day my grandmother was talking to one of her friends in front of the store, and she noticed me peeping in the window. She leaned over my shoulder and she pointed to the counter and she said, when we get our freedom, you can do that too. I became a freedom fighter that day. I understood instantly that the freedom that they were talking about was a different freedom than the one that Abraham Lincoln had given me. Grandmother and her friends were fighting for the good freedom, the one that would